Another reason why I got into real estate, back in 2005, my grandfather actually tried to give me over 45 of his homes, and I turned it down.
Because you was on crack cocaine. Why would you turn down 45? Oh,
here's why.
Just take 20.
Here's why.
No, I'm joking. You couldn't take 50.
Because there was a lack of information. But here's why I didn't do it, though.
All right, go ahead.
Because they was in the hood. So I'm assuming
it's a bad thing.
I don't want these raggedy-ass houses.
Yeah.
Like, my grandfather had the mindset of being an owner, but he did
a couple things.
Duct tape to cover up the pipes.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But the thing that blew me away is that today that portfolio would probably be worth over $5 million.
Easy. What city was it in? Milwaukee?
This was in Milwaukee. This was in Milwaukee.
I wish I could talk to your grandfather. Right
and so, but
that was a good idea.
Looking back at that hindsight, this is why I know the power of owning something, because here's the other thing that I see that is happening in our culture, in our community.
Okay.
We look at real estate as trying to get rich tomorrow. No, real estate is something you hold so that way our children and our children have something in position.
Bro.
And so my grandfather, that was a generation removed where I would have been set. And I could have built off that. I could have borrowed against that $5 million, got up to 80% of that completely tax-free. And I could have went out and bought a business, bought more real estate. And so this is why I'm so passionate in making sure that another individual doesn't come across a scenario like me and say, I don't want them raggedy-ass houses. The money is in the hood.
Well, the thing is that you just said is the money is in the hoods, right? When I'm on tour, I go around. I go from Detroit to Milwaukee to Chicago to, Ohio, Cleveland, Toledo, Columbus, all these different places, pockets, right? And I noticed Pittsburgh.
Definitely.
The places that was the most, oh my God, is the new.
Definitely.
Right? Soon as you see a Starbucks, you know it's popping. They're putting codes in where the houses have to be a certain way now. They all have to be painted. They all have to be kept up in original form. I'm like, this used to be the worst area, and now it's the new area, right?
Definitely.
So imagine back then your grandfather probably got those houses for $3,000.
Couple $1,000.
Easy.
Couple thousand.
Come on, man.
Yeah. So fortunately, I actually still have one of them.
Okay.
Believe it or not, in 2018, I bought it for $2,500. Needed some work, so I put about $30,000 worth of work in it. And the 30 grand didn't even come from my pocket. I used the bank's money. So it didn't cost me anything. And the $2,500, we spent that on a night out. I spent that at...
Come on. Stop playing.
You know what I'm saying, at the club last night. Right. So I was like, I might as well buy some real estate. So I actually just did a cash out refinance on that property about a month ago. So the bank gave me $80,000.
So tell people what a cash out.
So when you go and buy a property, that property now has some value. So for just to make the math simple, let's say I buy a property for $50,000, okay? And I'm not paying $50,000 cash. I'm not paying $50,000 all up front, just so that people know. I only have to come up as an investor with 20% of that. So I only have to come up with $10,000, okay? And then I show people how I bought my first property with a credit card. So the $10,000 comes from a credit card, not out of Will Roundtree's pocket.
Right.
So the property is $50,000. I buy the property. Let's say after a year it appreciates to $100. So now I can go back to the bank and say, hey, this property is worth $100,000. Can I borrow against it? And so now I can get up to 80% of that. So that means
are you getting 80% of the equity?
I'm getting 80% of the new appraised value.
Okay.
So the new appraised value is $100,000. I can borrow $80,000 of that tax-free, and the tenant is going to pay the rent or pay the mortgage, or what we call debt servicing. That 80 grand may only cost me $500. The rent on that property is $1,200. So I'm still net profitable on that property, and I can use that money to go buy another building. I can put it in my pocket. I can go buy a car. This is how people finance their lifestyle, through assets.
Absolutely.
Not through the credit, not through your income, not through
Instagram.
Not through Instagram. That game almost over anyway, Bill.
Everybody, let me tell you something. I'm going to use my life as an example of what you're talking about, right? Bought a property, sat on it, did some boom, boom, boom improvements. Bro, the amount of money that property is worth right now is crazy.
It is.
I could only imagine in another 10 years. This happened in 2 years.
Yeah.
Less than 2. It jumped because of the neighborhood, because of what I've done to it. You know what I'm saying? And basically, like, what I did was I did a little strategy. I started peeping the neighborhoods, like you said.
Definitely.
Peep the neighborhoods that's on the come up, right? See what's going around. Was it schools? Is it access to trains? Is it access to highways?
Right.
Stuff, simple stuff like
Literally,
that.
yeah.
That makes sense to people. People are no longer wanting to live so far out and having to go to work.
Yeah.
People are coming back to the cities again.
Yeah.
So now, for cats that are at home, listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, just think about your area. Like, okay, you know, drive around a little bit and say, hey, man, let me think as an investor right now.
Definitely.
What would be the hot move in 10? Because everybody, like you said, want their money right now. But let's say 10 years from now, what's going to be the move?
Yeah. So what I tell people, I was like, look at the infrastructure. And that's actually how I mapped out the blueprint of my real estate portfolio.
Okay.
I was like, okay, I'm going to go to these particular cities and look at what the infrastructure is. What neighborhoods are the closest to the downtown?
Ugh. Layup.
Because everybody wants to be downtown now. And so when you look at every single metropolitan city or the hoods, where are most of those at? Near downtown. And so you take a 5 to 10 mile radius from the downtown or those pockets close to downtown in the hoods. Got the train tracks, got the Starbucks. Now you got businesses moving back downtown. These cities are getting hundreds of millions of dollars for their infrastructure downtown. So now you got cities that are creating almost like cities within the city. But now they're pushing all of the black people out to the suburbs where they think is good living. Public transportation is horrible. So now you out there thinking it's good. They're giving us pennies on the dollar for Big Mama's house.
Right.
And we think we done came up just so we can go out to the burbs with the gated fence house, not knowing that the value is in the house where you already living.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? And this is what I keep trying to show people, because in a lot of these cities, like Detroit was selling houses for $1.
Bro. That is a fact.
You know, but because we don't value these things, because we don't own no shit, so we don't know what value looks like. And that's the thing. And I keep telling people, because you'll hear even on the internet, Bill, people say, oh, well, real estate's a scam. How can it something that you're going to live in anyway be a scam?
I mean, you making too much sense right now, bro.
So we got to start using some common sense, man.